Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to the Atlanta GDP Now estimate, okay, Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, GDP Now, the GDP Now model estimate for real GDP growth in the second quarter of 2022 is 0.0%, down from 0.9% on June 8th. Okay, if you checked this about 2 months ago, it was like 1.3% growth. Okay, they can't even mask this because usually the Atlanta Fed is pretty accurate. Like the Federal Reserve assessments or projections, they're more honest than at least the Atlanta Fed. Okay, the projections on the quarterly economic growth, they're actually more honest, at least, because they will say, okay, well, we think it's going to be 1.9%. Okay, now it's 0%, and then who knows, in a couple of months, well, the second quarter will come out soon. But we're going into a recession, 2 quarters of negative growth. Now, a prolonged, like multi-year recession of negative growth is a depression with layoffs. That's the definition. You can go to Investopedia, you can look it up. We had the Great Depression, obviously, 25% unemployment, so it might not get to 25% unemployment, but it could, if we get back to 10% unemployment, or 8% on it, that would still be a catastrophe. Layoffs are ahead. I predicted everything taking place. They're going to impeach Joe Biden, not just because of Hunter's emails that actually show, like, you would have to be a complete imbecile not to see emails asking him, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? A company that's paying him $100 grand a month as Mashed Potato Brains Joe, when he was vice president, forced out the prosecutor of another country. And then they have an email we find from the New York Post stating, hey, how can you use your influence on behalf of the company? Gee, do you think maybe those two things are connected? And then they say, well, no, it was just to combat corruption. It's like, no, you're talking about corruption. You don't combat corruption by actually committing a corrupt act. But anyway, that's not part of U.S. foreign policy to force out prosecutors. It's never, ever happened before. But anyway, we're heading into a depression. We're already in a recession. And this is not hyperbole. I accurately predicted everything taking place. Go to the description section right now. I told you in the Federalist in October of 2021, on this channel in September of 2021, and in the stock market crash channel in September of 2021. We are heading into what possibly could be a depression. I'm not predicting a depression. I'm saying it is a possibility. So my analysis is now, I am now shifting from, hey, recession, stock market crash, because I predicted all of that long before almost everyone was talking about it. Nobody was really talking about it in September of 2021, people. That's why, share this segment everywhere. And share the segment prior to this one. Because impeachment should be a topic of discussion among everyone. Republicans, Democrats who have any common sense. What Mashed Potato Brains Joe just did today, forcing oil companies. Not only is that has to be one of the most corrupt acts in modern U.S. history. And here's why. You go into the presidency with policies that are anti-oil, then own it. 14 states, along with oil and gas associations, suing the current administration for policies detrimental to the oil industry. Within those lawsuits, they state, hey, your policies are going to increase the price of oil and gas. And if diesel fuel gets any more expensive, and I'm going to say this again, if diesel fuel gets any more expensive, we will, if it gets from double to triple the price, we will almost certainly flirt with some kind of depression, an economic depression. Because transportation will grind to a halt. Maybe Amazon will continue or UPS, but it's like companies that are not like monster gigantic companies are not going to survive if diesel prices get any higher. Watch the diesel prices. The food shortages and the food prices and inflation. When you go to the supermarket, part of that is the diesel cost of the trucks transporting the food from the co-packer, from the farm, or from the manufacturing facility to the retailer, to the supermarket. But that's just we're talking about the food industry. But there's like every other industry, everything runs on fossil fuels. This is something that Democrats don't understand. It is noble, it is just, it is good to one day transform the economy. But that day is not here. We're not even close to that day. 80 to 90% of the economy runs on oil and gas. Electric power plants run on 60% fossil fuels and then 20% nuclear power. And only around 10 or 12, 13% is green energy. Green energy is not capable of sustaining the United States economy. It's not even capable of sustaining the German economy. That's why they had Nord Stream 2. And so you have these issues where Biden pushes makers to boost capacity, but they're not going to go out of business. They're going to sue him again. You can't implement policies detrimental to an industry, even if you think it's morally justified. Cause oil and gas to go double in price. Cause diesel prices to just eventually transportation will grind to a halt. And then demand that, and then blame them when they're making money, but they were losing money 2 years ago when Democrats and unelected officials and bureaucrats in the most apoplectic and hysterical manner ended economic activity, pushed everyone, just completely ended economic activity. So these are commodity-based industries. They rely on projections, supply and demand projections. So the demand plummeted. They lost a lot of money, the oil industry, 2 years ago. Now they're making money because demand is skyrocketed, but they're not going to put the investments. Listen to this. U.S. may never build new refinery even with surging gas prices, Chevron CEO. It's a multi-billion-dollar investment. They're not going to go ahead and make that investment. And it takes, 5, 6, 7 years to fully build. And they don't know if the next hysterical and apoplectic and counterproductive policy from Democrats tanks the economy, or an unelected official says, yeah, we have to end the U.S. economy right now. More stimulus because you know what is back. They don't know that. So these are business, even if you don't think they're just and moral and wonderful. People have to, working class people, like on the left, like working class people, wealth inequality, systemic injustices, these are all worse with inflation. You talk about voters who vote against their interests. The average Democratic voter throughout the United States of America has voted against his or her interests by voting for Mashed Potato Brains Joe. Because things are more expensive. They're only going to continue to get more expensive. Inflation is going to continue. GDP is already at zero, and it's going to be negative for 2 quarters. Tell me when the third or fourth or next year is going to, how will that be better? I want to know. Because if it's not going to be better, we're heading into a depression with 10, 15% unemployment. Layoffs are going to be like, this is going to be a huge thing, ladies and gentlemen. People are going to lose their jobs. And I accurately predicted all of this. So it's not like I'm saying like I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. Go to the description section right now of every segment I do. Watch the playlist, people. Watch the playlist. I'm not right about everything, but I mean, about big calls, I'm right about. I said Clinton would lose to Trump. Nobody was saying that. Very few people. And I said that there would be a stock market crash and a crypto crash. Let's go to the Bitcoin crash to 10,000 or lower channel. And that was accurate, and I predicted all of that in September. So just watch the playlist. It's below in the description and in the pinned comment. And ladies and gentlemen, impeachment is a certainty, but they can now impeach him on the fact that he's going to make us flirt with a depression. Whether we have an actual economic depression or not, I'm not sure. I'm not predicting that, but I will say we'll flirt with it. And you say, well, what does that even mean? We'll flirt with it. We will get close to that situation. And it depends on if we can, if we can have Trump back in office or DeSantis, because that's the only thing that'll save this country at this point. Because Democrats it's almost as if they want to destroy it. It's almost as if, not saying they do, I don't think they do, but it's almost as if they're actually working to destroy the economy and the country. It's almost as if they're doing that. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe now!